What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to Smart Tech. Today we're going to be talking about the A-Zone home security system. This is an HD camera kit that consists of 4 cameras, the A-Zone system itself, and you can actually access all of these cameras over the cloud. We're going to be talking about the main features, but first of all I thought I would go ahead and give you guys the overall unboxing. Now, some of the main features include these cameras being waterproof, night vision, the cable systems of course being really easy to install, and of course you being able to access this from the internet. There's also an app that you can use on your Android or iOS device, and then of course you can also access these cameras on a Windows device or with no cloud connected device at all. Simply hook this up to a monitor and you should be set to go. Now, diving into the box, the first thing we see is the 4 cameras and of course a box for the cables. Here's an instruction manual that will hopefully guide us through the process of setting everything up. Now, I did go ahead and look through this instruction manual and it was very in-depth. However, so is the system itself. This is one of the camera boxes, and of course, as you guys can see, the camera itself is white with a lot of what look to be LEDs surrounding it. And then of course there's 4 of these boxes. Here's the cable box, and right underneath that, if I can see correctly, is the A-Zone unit itself, which will be powering and of course allowing you to access all these cameras simultaneously. So let's go ahead and take that out real quick. Hopefully it wants to come out of the box. There you go. Okay, and there it is, guys. My overall first impressions of the unboxing itself is pretty clean. Everything seems to be packed really well. Everything seems to be really organized, and that actually does play a big role in when it comes to the installation itself. So the main part of when it comes to installing these cameras is of course the cable, so I thought I'd go ahead and take a look at that particular box first. So let's go ahead and see what's inside. Now, this is one of 2 cable boxes. The other one consists of your remote. It comes with a mouse. Then of course there is the actual wires that will allow you to power the device, the power bricks themselves, and of course a few other things that comes in a box that's actually with the A-Zone unit as a whole. But these are your long 15-meter cables that will allow you to connect your camera and power your camera from the device up to 15 meters, which is a pretty solid amount of range. Now, of course, you can probably go ahead and extend these, so that's perfectly fine. Now we're going to take a look at the camera unit as a whole. So of course, one of those is obviously for power, and the other one is probably a connection back to the A-Zone unit that will allow us to go ahead and see what's going on the camera. Now, my first impressions of the camera is that the camera is pretty big. It's kind of giant, and some people don't actually like that when it comes to security cameras. So in case you guys are going more for a low-key type of impression when it comes to these cameras, or maybe even hidden completely, then you might want to look into black versions and of course ones that are smaller. But if you want a camera at home, maybe simply for the sake of monitoring things, and you don't really care about, I don't know, maybe you're not running a gas station or a small business or something along those lines, this is probably the best unit for you. So next off, of course, I'm gonna go ahead and unbox this cool little thing, and this is the A-Zone unit. This is what's going to allow you to go and see what's going on all your cameras, and of course allow you to mess with the software. You're also going to connect your monitor to this particular device, and you can connect your monitor via HDMI or DVI depending on what type of monitor you have. There's a handful of buttons on here, but I prefer to use the mouse, and you can also go ahead and use a keyboard attached to this, I believe. There's also a small remote that it comes with, and let's go ahead and take a look at the unit. My original plan to set these up was to just go and set them up like you would do when you actually went and bought it, but then I was like, it's going to be really hard to show you guys all the wiring things if I go and do that. So I decided, you know what, I'm going to do a small setup. I'm going to do it right on the floor here, and everything here is completely easy to see. So of course the setup process is pretty simple. As you can see, I have the power unit connected into the A-Zone unit. I have one USB connected to the mouse. I have a DVI along with the monitor as a whole, and then of course I have one camera connected as of right now, so we can get ourselves the basics. Now the camera, well, let's take a look at the mouse first. So as you guys can see, the mouse itself is pretty low-key and small. Then of course here's the remote, and then of course there's my 15-meter cable, which I'm not exactly using much of it, but the camera itself is connected, and you guys can tell because on my monitor you can see the live stream that's coming from this particular camera. I thought this would be an easier way to show off the setup, so of course feel free to let me know if you guys want a full-fledged setup video or not. So there you go, there's the camera completely active. So far, quality looking pretty awesome when it comes to the camera as a whole. I did go and put this at a higher range, and even then camera was perfect, and if I do turn off the light, then it will jump into night vision mode all on its own. Here's the unit itself. Here's a close look at some of the buttons. There's a power indicator light. There's also a small OK button along with 4 other buttons that will allow you to scroll through certain things. But as I said earlier, mouse, but of course there's also a record LED light and of course an alarm light. Then of course there's also the IR blaster section along with an escape and menu button. So now jumping onto the monitor, we're actually going to take a look at the software. First thing you're going to see is welcome to the configuration wizard. It will help you configure the device. To continue, click next. Now believe it or not guys, I actually got stumped and I actually had to email them and ask what exactly to do here because they asked for the password, and when you actually type in a password, for example 000 or something along those lines, a small pop-up comes up telling you that the password is null. Believe it or not, the password, I at first literally thought that the password was null, but no, simply click OK on that screen and it will bring you to the next screen. So technically speaking, you don't even need to have a password if you don't. Now, as you guys can see, I'm just going to go ahead and set these. These are your time and language configurations, which is of course pretty important for a camera, so of course make sure you set these up correctly. Next off, you will also have the option to go and connect to the internet. However, I didn't feel like doing that just yet, so I actually skipped it, which you can as well. You can also download the iPhone app or Android application using a QR code, and then you can add devices using another QR code. But as you guys can see, go and onto the main screen, and you'll be able to right-click and mess around with the main settings. So of course, we're going to start with, let's take a look. Let's start with info, or actually no, let's go with advanced first, and take a look at some of the more advanced settings, just to show you guys how in-depth and how planned out the security system was when it was originally built. So there's storage settings, and you can actually add your own hard drive. There's also a motion detection, video blind, there's an abnormality setting, and a video loss setting. So all of these will set off your alarm should they actually happen. Another thing you guys can do is of course record. There's record configuration, playback, and finally backup to a certain hard drive. Here inside of, you should be able to mess around with settings that you already tweaked, but this is where things get a little bit more complicated, where you set your gateway for your Ethernet and of course things along those lines. This thing does not support wireless capabilities, so no, you will not be able to wirelessly connect to the internet, but it does work with an Ethernet, which works quite well. Now, jumping back, there's also PTZ settings, so you can set that up along with this as well. Here are some more settings, Tor, and finally we get ourselves our digital settings to change the channel type. So as you guys can see, it is very in-depth. Now truth be told, most of you guys will not be using majority of those advanced settings. Those are for certain people in certain circumstances. For example, right now I usually don't need access to most of those settings, so I thought I'd go ahead and just show you guys some of the more basic settings that you'll probably be using on a daily basis. So of course there is the logout button, but the main settings you actually can go and right click on the screen and be able to use. There's a main menu, guide, there's record settings, there's color settings as you guys can see right here, playback, PTZ control, coaxial control, high speed PTZ, and of course a few other settings just to tweak your camera just the way you like it. So as you guys can see, there is absolutely no lag when it comes to the camera and of course the video feed. Now a lot of people will be very happy when it comes to this because that's super important when it comes to security cameras. Video quality and autofocus seems really nice, and of course the video quality automatically adjusts based on the setting. As I said earlier, it does automatically adjust should you turn off the light, and then of course it will jump into its night vision mode, which works really well. I'd say this is the perfect security system for anyone in the market. For one, it comes with 4 cameras, HD quality, night vision. You can use it at home, and for advanced users, for small businesses and offices, there's other settings to allow you to connect to the internet and keep an eye on things even when you're not there. Overall, I give it a nice solid 9 out of 10. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this review and look. Thank you guys for watching. This is going to be me logging off.